morning and welcome. I wasn't here last week because I had a kinship response to my cat had oral surgery and had to have two teeth removed, and it was so good because they were very badly infected, and it basically saved her life. And she came home, and I think I've shared with you about Flopsies, that she does a bustle
Oh,
Flopsy.
yeah.
So when she came out of anesthesia, what was just so dear was that her very, for like her essence, she wasn't feisty or grumpy, or she did about 3 dozen Flopsies. She just spent the next few days doing Flopsies. It was just so lovely. But then as she was recovering, I got sick. So I think I was just so in touch with her. So we're both all better now and doing great. So so I'm back. And I wanted to do something a little bit different today, given what's going on in the collective and the escalation. My sense is that we're so surrounded by fear right now that I'm imagining that most people don't even realize they're reacting to it, but aren't really aware. And so I want to combine a few things and see if it makes a difference for us in our stress, anxiety, fear level. And so for you right now, I'd like you to just do a little body scan, giving some attention to yourself. And I'd like you to give yourself a rating between 0 and 10. 0 would be humming and flowing, and I'm in touch with things and I'm noticing what's beautiful, everything's, and 10 would be, oh my God. So somewhere in between those, I'd like you to give yourself a number, and I'd like you to just put it down somewhere, because I'd like you to do a little before and after assessment, because sometimes when we're doing body intelligence work, the shift happens so quickly that you don't remember how it was before. So for your left brain to be able to register something changed, I'd like you to give yourself a number now, and then we're going to play with some things. And then at the end of our session, you're going to do a body scan and give yourself another number. So I'll give you a second to do that, and I'm going to have a little water while you're doing that. All right. Anybody not got your number? Need another minute or so? Okay, so what I want to do is to combine some things with loop of awareness. So with your fundamental loop of awareness, which is, I'm looking at everybody here, I think I know everybody on the call here. So I want to invite you to first give attention to you. And what I'd like you to notice is, are you letting it land? And where is your attention landing? And does it want to travel anywhere else? So we're going to loop and land and then maybe travel a little bit. And then I'd like you to loop out, and I'd like you to actually let it land, because my sense is too often when people shift their attention, they don't really shift it all the way. It kind of is in that limbo in between state where you're sort of drifting, but you're not actually looping. So I'd like you to loop out, and then maybe for this time, just let it land somewhere. So I'm letting it land on a plant that, is a few feet away from me. And then when you let it land, does it want to travel a little bit, or does it just land? So we're going to loop and land and then see if there's any traveling. So I'd like you to let yourself do that a few times so you're getting that circulating. And what I'm noticing is that some of you are then letting your body respond, which is great. So anytime your body wants to respond to looping, uh, go ahead and let that happen, because that's part of the traveling. So when you loop and land and then notice what wants to, it's almost like a blooming. If you are watering something and you water and it lands, something then flows. And if something wants to flow in you, wonderful. So you're adding, you got looping and landing. And what I'd like you to then add to that, because when I think of something, I often go out of my looping. And so returning to your looping, is like the basic move, just, shifting. Whenever you realize where your attention is, let it shift the other direction. What I'd like you to add to this now is, as you're looping and landing, I'd like you to let yourself notice your breath also landing. So when you loop back to you, I'd like you to let your attention land, and I'd like you to let your breath consciously slow, just letting it go a little more, maybe even focusing a little bit on the exhale. So you're looping and landing and then exhaling. Because one of the best ways is to move from fear to presence is by slowing your breath. And you can do it anywhere, in any kind of community. And I find that that also ripples, so that my presence then ripples and gives other people a chance to osmose. So you're looping and landing and slowing your breath. So let yourself play with that a little bit. So it may be a looping and landing, and then your body responds, and then your breath slows even more. And then you might find a little, you might have a fear thought, and then your breath holds again. Because I notice, uh, especially in these last several months, that my diaphragm is very responsive to what's going on around me. And I can have a little, even if I read something and I go, I have a little, it's a little freeze. It's a little freeze in my diaphragm. And so the other thing that I want to add to this is a little wiggle. So I want to just divert a little bit to a wiggle. And for me, the easiest wiggle, you can try this out for you, is a fish wiggle, which is a side to side. So you can initiate it with your hips. That's what I'm doing right now, and then letting it ripple up. You can initiate it with your shoulders. I've also been playing with initiating it with my diaphragm. It's just letting my diaphragm wiggle a little bit. And so when you add a little wiggle, sometimes the wiggle will want to get bigger. Sometimes it'll just stay in that little kind of side to side wiggle. When I add that to my looping and landing, it also assists me in slowing my breath, because wiggling and slowing your breath will tend to play together. So we've got the practice is loop and land and wiggle and slow. And loop and land and wiggle and slow. Letting yourself play with that in both as you go out. And one of the things I just noticed is I swear my plant just got perkier. So I'm giving it attention, and it just kind of went poof. So, and even if I'm making that up, I think that's a great thing to make up, is that attention makes things perk up. So, and letting your attention come back to you and let it land, and actually let your body tell you where you would like attention, letting your attention land. So mine just said in my sacrum area, please. So I'm letting my attention land there, and then I'm wiggling in that area, and I'm sending my slow breath to that area. So those elements you can play with in all kinds of different dimensions of looping, landing, wiggling and slowing your breath. And for me, one of the reasons I'm sharing this with you is that I find this is something that I can return to, and I can practice anytime, anywhere, like at a stop sign. Jody and I, we're at a stop sign yesterday. We were coming up to a stop sign, and then there was this big old truck that came and just blew through the the sign, and Jody honked the horn, and the guy put down his window and said, "I was here first." And so I realized that, whoa, first, so I went, oh, a little minute. So that's the kind of time when you can add in. So first you might want to be wiggling, because wiggling is a great way to let all of that stuff just move through. So it can be fingers, it could be toes. I realize that almost always now my toes are wiggling. So that I keep a wiggle going, and I really want to recommend that you keep a wiggle going, and then you can move that wiggle around. And when you add in then the looping and landing and letting yourself breathe, so just midway, I'd like you to now do a little body scan and see if your number has changed. Just for you, just do a little body scan and see if your numbers change. There's no, no demand that it go one way or the other, but just a checking in. And now I want to add in our card, which I've deliberately chosen for today. So I'd like to have Michelle show you the card. And I'd like you to let yourself do your looping and landing and wiggling and slowing with the card. So letting your like I just went into the eyes, which I at first I just got stuck on the hands, and then I went, oh, behind that. And so I'm going into the eyes and letting myself loop with that and land and wiggle, and then bringing your attention back to you. Oh, and notice there's toes at the bottom. I love that. So what I'm getting from this is that when I wiggle and loop and land and slow, that my perception expands. So notice what happens for you as you continue your loop and land and wiggle and slow. While I read, I know when I freeze and how to shift gently into wiggling my fingers and toes, which I expand into whole body wiggling and ease. So just notice how that lands for you. And as I'm continuing to wiggle and particularly loop and land and slow my breath, I'm noticing so much more of the dimensionality of the card and what's in there. And then when I bring that back to me, I can feel the easing, the melting of the freeze. And you can take it into whole body wiggling, but you don't have to. Let me read it once more. I know when I freeze. So would you be willing to know when you freeze and how to gently shift into wiggling my fingers and toes or my hips or or my jaw, which I expand into whole body wiggling and ease. So even in the midst of the oh my gods, you can create ease for you, and then you become really a beacon. You become a lighthouse of ease and flow for others. So let yourself come on back. And I want to go to our present connect play. Oh, I love this. So adding in presence is notice and follow what your body wants to do most. So that's a great thing to add into our looping and landing and breathing more slowly and wiggling. So notice as you're doing that, where does your body want to wiggle? Because we can have wiggle habits like I wiggle my shoulders, but there may be some place in you that's just been longing to wiggle and just waiting for an invitation. So let yourself notice, is there any place in your body like, oh, I just had my ankles just said, I want to do a little wiggle. So I usually wiggle my feet, but I keep my ankles pretty stiff and solid. So letting my ankles wiggle is a whole different thing because then it comes up into my knees and then up into my hips. Yeah, beautiful. So noticing and following what your body wants to do. we all so often are telling our body what to do, and it's almost always something that we're doing wrong. Like, stop that, or stand up straight, or suck that tummy in, or, so, or get that. Are you gonna die with that expression on your face? So the there the kinds of ways that we notice ourselves are almost always punitive. And so I want to invite you into noticing what your body wants to do. Like right now, if you give attention, when you give your loop of attention to you, what does your body want to do? I got now a little figure eight that my hips want to do, so that it's not just a wiggle, that it's a wiggle and loop. And when you do that, you're actually inviting your body intelligence to wake up even more. You're inviting your body intelligence to be more communicative. When I was in graduate school, I was doing a bunch of Jungian work, and I had a dream journal. And one of the directions about really being able to capture your dreams is to open your journal and have it by the bed. And I even would put the date, and I had my pen ready. And I actually have pens that have a light on the end, so that I can, here's one of them. So that when I wake up in the middle of the night, I don't have to turn the light on. I can just click it, and then I can write. So this is I'm saying this because you can get ready. You can invite your body to speak to you, to communicate with you more, with your interest, with your looping, with your slowing your breath, but also with responding. If your body wants to do something and you respond to it, then your body goes, okay, we're partners, and we'll give you more information. And then connect. Oh, this is one of my favorite. Connect is appreciate everyone as a work of art. I like to, especially with couples, but I like to with everyone, to have you experience yourself as an evolving work of art. You're not like a statue, although some of us treat ourselves that way, especially a frieze statue. But if you treat yourself as an evolving work of art, that level of appreciation, I think, also adds this sweetness and this softness to your attention that really invites, it invites your own flopsies. It invites you to, like, show your open belly to yourself, and for you to be safe for other people to show their open belly to their feelings, what's going on under the surface. And all of this can happen without you saying a word. That's what's also really efficient, because you can spread joy and connection as you move around in the world without you having any "hi, how are you today" kind of interactions with people. And then play. Oh, this is a big skill. Play is match and make bigger. So what we mean by matching is, can you let yourself move in a way that matches what you're experiencing inside? I sometimes call this bodifying. So if you give yourself a moment to just wonder about, what's going on in here, and then your body will start to speak, and then you can make that bigger. And I find when I make it bigger, I can almost always get the story or the message or the feeling that's being carried by my body that wants to be expressed or wants to be engaged with. So rather than the message that so many people give themselves is just stop it or calm down or suppress, but when you match and you make it bigger, you're opening your aliveness, you're opening your whole sense of being an evolving work of art. And this is how you're expressing yourself now. So let yourself just have another minute or so where you're looping and landing and wiggling and slowing your breath and noticing how your body wants to respond to all of that. I just had a bigger, expansive breath, which I just really enjoyed. So your body will say thank you in all kinds of ways when you give yourself and you give your surroundings this kind of attention. So now I'd like you to give yourself a body scan and see what your stress level is right now from 0 to 10. Just notice how it is. And then get out your your number that you started out with today, and see if there's any difference there, if you created any shift for yourself. And my sense is too that instead of trying to talk people out of what they're doing or how they're reacting or getting into an argument, ground yourself in the practice that we've done today and let that ripple out to the people around you, because I guarantee you that your presence, will radiate that kind of safety and peacefulness much more readily than anything that you say, which is so easy to misinterpret. But creating a space of ease and safety is something that we can do for ourselves and for the people around us. All right. So how about, as we're ending today, what is your here I am? How does your body want to do here I am? And then I'm so glad. So I'm so glad is our love scoops. And here I am is just honoring how is your evolving work of art today. Here I am. And I'm so glad. And I love to do this at least 3 times, because if you just do it once, you can kind of go, oh, no, that's kind of silly. I feel kind of stupid doing this. But if you let yourself just do, here I am, and I'm so glad, and you do it, then once more, here I am, and I'm so glad. Ah, that's also something, I'd be willing to do this in public, but but it's a great thing for you can just have a here I am, I'm so glad pause in the day. Like when you're out on a walk, or you're before you get in your car, and yeah, or before you're going to a meeting. So thank you. Thank you for your presence today. Thank you for continuing to be such gorgeous, evolving works of art, and much love to you all. And until next time, bye now. Stay and play.